What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home? Well, Robert Jeffries and I found the gateway. Now the problem is finding a way back home. This is Stumbling Through the Multiverse, a Sliders recap with Rain Coleman and Robert Jeffries II. All right, y'all, we're back again. Still stuck in the multiverse. We ain't made our way back to Earth Prime yet. This is Stumbling Through the Multiverse. This is the official. Whoever want to combat me, do it. But you ain't gonna win. This is the official Sliders review show. I am your co-host, second chair, Rain Coleman, the Carefree Black Nerd. And please, Robert, let them know who is at the helm of this slider contraption.
Slider celebration of sliding. This Robert Jeffrey, co-host. I don't know about first chair. It feels kind of weird, right. But yeah, it's we're here to talk about Sliders, a show that apparently I'm obsessed with, and that I've another show that I've pushed on Rain to start watching. So yeah, we 3 episodes in, right?
It feels like more.
Well, it's kind of weird because, the first episode was just first and second were just that divided up opening, not opening pilot episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, maybe because it felt like an extended movie or whatever. I have no idea. Or maybe this episode just made the process seem longer than
that
it should. But yeah.
Yeah, man. This was cool. Listeners and viewers, use that hashtag STTM pod. Stumbling through the multiverse when you are listening, watching, discussing this show. Cause man, this is a doozy. Okay, so we're 3 episodes in. Episode 3 is called Fever. In this episode, the Sliders witness an epidemic taking its toll on the population when they wind up on Earth in a timeline before antibiotics have been discovered. Now, you would think they actually time traveled forward in time to 2019. They did not. But boy, oh boy, were they close. What's up, man? What you got? General thought? What's the feelings? What's up?
General thoughts. It was a cool episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because those first 2 episodes were, we were talking about like the tonal differences, but also it seemed a little like fast paced in certain respects, and it was like kind of laying a framework. While this one, it didn't feel. I don't know. This felt like a weird, strangely enough, a filler episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a filler episode, and that doesn't mean it's bad because of that. But
right.
I don't know. This isn't one of those. It's not a bad one, but it's not one of the ones from the season that like stands out as being like the best of the season.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of there. But what happens in this is, and I mentioned this in the first episode, or the first podcast that we did, is that you're going to start seeing a trend or certain things that happen in episodes, and it becomes a reoccurring thing. We'll get to that as we get through the interview, but it's something that these are things that the show will go back to a lot. So filler episode for me, just kind of middle of the road. Had some fun with it, but that's kind of about it. How about you?
This episode, like I said, pissed me off. But one thing that stood out, which kind of messed me up, is it feels like it's later in the season. This does not feel like an episode 2 or 3, technically 2, 3. I was like, hold up, because some rules that are established like very quickly. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We didn't talk about that. So clearly the show got greenlit after that pilot, and y'all just jumped into it because there was no transition. I was like, I accept what you're telling me, but there is a 2.5 episode in there that's gone, and I need that. It was so jarring. And I truly had to go back and I was like, okay, I don't want to look too much into the show because I like the idea that you know everything and I know nothing. But like, was there something missed when they put it on Peacock? But no, that's not the case.
No,
it's just the third episode.
And this is so one of the things I will say is that because of the serialized, it's not serialized, episodic nature versus more serialized shows that we have now.
Right.
You will finish that week's episode and then come back like you just did to this episode, and there's no connecting thread to what happened. Like they were in different clothes.
Yeah.
Apparently Rembrandt hit the lottery somehow. It's just, and there's no explanation. And I think even though that they do callbacks to things that happened previously in the show, I think this is like a lot of television from when we were growing up, where unless you had that like 2 or 3 part arc, every episode stood alone. It was more episodic. So that you will see that a lot of times. And also, and I will go ahead and spoil this, because we got to talk off camera about this. They premiered a few of these episodes out of order. So, we need to actually, and that it's a strange case of 2 episodes actually connecting in a way where it doesn't, right, exactly. One of the few times where that happens. And then that's the time that they decide to, wherever you find these episodes, they are out of order. It's like, I think one's called The Summer of Love. And then there's another one that either comes before or after that, but they switched it out. So it's funny you mentioned that because that was something where I was going to have to talk to you about.
Okay. Let me know. Cause I don't want to watch. I'm going to watch in whatever order you tell me. So,
okay. Yeah. I'll go to the Sliders fan websites to find out, but overall, no, they don't give an F about continuity in this.
Man. I'll say this: the way this episode ends, if they don't pick up with that situation in episode 4, I'm punching something. I'm punching because I'm intrigued now. So I'm just know, listeners, if y'all look on the news and there's a bald black guy in Texas who didn't punch something, that's me. I'm going to be mad. Just let you know.
So you ready to jump into it?
Yeah, man. I am.
So the episode opens up with once again, I keep saying stuff like this 90s rock music. They show in the skyline of San Francisco, and I think they show like a newspaper saying or something like, oil has been found, or like, oil struck or whatever. I mean, whatever the phrase is. Basically, oil deposits are being found all across. It sounds like behind everybody's house, everybody, so everybody is rich, because they're finding oil all over the city. And the Sliders are like walking through the celebration. People are like, we're rich, it just happy, excited, running around with drinking wine and Cristal, whatever. And all this crazy stuff. And the Sliders are actually happy, right? I love the fact that Rembrandt is not wearing that getup, whatever, that exactly. So they got to change of clothes, and all of that. And so as they're walking around, this one guy walks up to Quinn, and I think it's one of the characters from the first episode, one of the classmates, one of his classmates. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were good for that. The first couple of seasons, keeping certain actors to just kind of play doubles of themselves. I guess. Yeah, and I don't want to say it's cheap because they're still paying them, to play, but it's an easy way to kind of keep that connectivity to, especially if you're not picking up where the episode's in. So, Anyway, so he comes up to Quinn and says, "Hey, man, congratulations on that big oil deposit that's been found behind your house." And he's like, "You're rich." And then Quinn realizes like they got to slide in like 3 or 4 minutes. And
Which
so his face is all he's concerned. I mean, he's like sad and then I don't know, Rembrandt gets upset because he's like, we gotta stay for only like 1 minute in this
yeah,
world. And I think the lady runs up to the professor and kisses him, and whatever, because everybody's happy. So then they go to a back alley, and Rembrandt is still being kind of pissy, which has become a standard or a regular thing is going to become a regular thing throughout this episode. And then they slide. They because they only have a little bit of time left before they have to go. And I call that oil rich world. So like, was the opening like jarring for you, or was
yes,
it okay?
yes, God, yeah, and not for where we work. So I'm like, I
Yeah,
can accept whatever. There's going to be a world with, I don't know, everybody peas diamonds.
yeah,
It was the fact that they like didn't establish, which I get again. I'm thinking 90s. You don't, continuity ain't set up how it is now. But it's like, yeah,
yeah.
we only have a minute left here. What do you mean? What do you mean? When was this established?
Right. When did they get here?
And the other thing that gets me, and I hope this is addressed, so if so, you don't have to spoil it, but what the fuck does it matter? If I set off the timer for 2 minutes and we don't jump, we can just set it again. Like, what is that addressed?
Um, so they're not adjusting the timer. The timer is, and they may not have like established this pretty well. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but the timer is giving them their periods of time. Yeah, so that's the thing. So whatever mistake that was made when he had to, adjust the timer so they could get immediately out of the ice world.
Okay.
That basically set it up so that their their time periods on world are controlled by, basically dictated by the timer. So they can get there and they'll be like, oh, we got a week here. We got 5 minutes. We got so that's it. So they're not adjusting it. And the other thing is, I don't even know if they said this. I don't know if this is a spoiler, but the big thing is, if they miss the slide, then they are stuck on world for like decades.
Okay. Yeah, that hasn't been addressed. Okay, but that I can appreciate that, because when they start throwing out numbers, I'm like, well, hold the hell up, because nobody has established this. The other thing, and I know why they did this for where we eventually get to, but when Arturo walked down them steps and that lady just put her tongue in his mouth, I was like, now, I know this is 95. There ain't no amount of celebration. I don't know, Woodstock. I don't know. You're not putting your tongue in my mouth. All in all, I was okay with this. I was okay with it. But now that you've cleared that up, I feel much better, because I was like, no, y'all didn't establish this, and I was mad about it. But now that you said that, I can go into it. Okay, so the beginning was actually pretty good then.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, they're but yeah, I can't remember if the thing with the timer dictating how long they stay somewhere and the consequences of if they miss a slide have been established. But so that's why they're always in this rush, or at least like, let's stay put, let's until the slide, and then adventure happens, and then they're like, oh yeah, we can't stay put, that's the thing. So they slide to the world, to this new world, which I'll just call Virus World, or 2020. And each person comes through, and Wade, and notice who went first. Notice who always goes into the portal first. So Wade.
Why don't they all hold hands and just jump through? I don't.
It's just weird, but
I was like, that's not important.
no, I'm not. No, not even that. No, I mean, that's like, that would make too much sense that you go in at the same time and not fall on each other every episode. So no, that makes sense. But Wade jumps through, and I guess she goes through too fast, and she jumps into the street, which is actually something that I like, because you're not guaranteed a safe landing all the time, and you don't know if you're going to the same spot. So she goes into the street. She almost gets hit by a truck, and then somebody saves her. And the guy that saves her is like wrapped up. To me, he looked like Darkman. I don't know if you remember that movie from the '90s where the character, but he was wrapped up in Wade gives him a kiss, like on the cheek, like she's saying thank you. Yeah, and he says thank you, and then he says something like, "I was trying to save your life." Oh, and before I forget, before they slid, there was graffiti on the wall of Oil World that said "Greed is sexy." So, so then that's how hype what people were. But so they look at him running away, upset that Wade kissed him, and then Professor says he says like we've slid to a world where people don't accept kisses or whatever. And they was like, and then like Rembrandt says something which is it's kind of weird. Like he makes a joke about it, but then they go and get something to eat, and at this place, it's a restaurant, and when they get in there, as they walk in, they're kind of like scanned. It feels like it looks like they're scanned, and this place looks drab. It looks like a hospital basically.
Yep.
And as they sit down, everybody's hungry. This is the first instance of them using just money, the money from their world or from different worlds to pay for the food, which I always think is weird. But they sit down, get this food, and it's basically shrink wrap burgers. And you're getting this idea like that things are like extra clean or disinfected, or they're very worried about germs, so and then there's a guy coughing in the corner, so like things don't seem right. So before I go to like the big reveal, like what are your thoughts about, because they're now establishing like what this world is like. Oh, and that was the other thing. Before they go inside, they see a truck with the symbol CHC, which is for the California Health Commission, pick up a body and just toss into a truck. And these guys are wearing hazmat suits. So everything is weird. So what were your thoughts about this weird ass world that they had like slid into?
These four are dumb. They are not smart, and they are pissing me off. I know this is a different time, so I am giving grace for that. But why are we kissing each other? Why are we kissing strangers? Well, and I understand why for the show, for the storytelling portion. But I'm like, there were so many other ways we could have got here. And to be offended, oh, he didn't like kisses. Girl, what did you do? In regular world, okay, that's weird. But when we're jumping through portals and we don't know what's on the other end, we just left a world where you were like a resistance fighter against the communist. Like, what are we doing? I'm not kissing. I'm not eating. I'm not doing. So I feel like this is what, 1, the winter place, then 2, the Russian America, and then 3, the oil world. This is your like 4th jump. Why are we not like, where's the street smarts? Where's the book? I'm like, what? And the fact that people are like, oh, hey, you're such a, oh, I've never been here before. Whatever. All in all, this opening was really weird to me. Especially after seeing the hazmat suits. It's like, oh yeah, let's go get a burger. No, let's find out if we're not. I don't know, in disease world, if we're not in the people are really bugs. Like I feel like there's not enough caution when they just like, I don't know. It frustrates me.
I can understand, because like I think the thing that would have got me after almost seeing Wade get hit by a car is seeing, because I don't see many body bags carried out like that's just not a normal thing for me. Yeah, I mean I think I've seen one, and that was enough. So when they're like, they look at them carry the body bag in, and then Rembrandt's like, well, let's get a burger, and it's just like, let's just go. And I think the professor says something. He's like, there's something about sliding that makes a person hungry or something. But So anyway, so they go into this place. Rembrandt eats the shrink wrap burger, runs to the bathroom, and it was funny. He's actually making some funny jokes. Like he said something about like he played a gig in Salt Lake City, which was like this place, and he said the people were clapping off beat. So he eats the burger. He goes into the bathroom, like kind of spits it up. And then he sees like 1,000 wanted posters in the bathroom. It's like of Quinn, and there's $1 million bounty or like reward for him, and they call him the I forgot what they call him, but he is patient zero for the Q, and it's called the Q because I guess because on this world, their version of Quinn Mallory release this virus into across the world, or at least across the country. So of course Rembrandt doesn't just go outside and tell them we need to leave. He brings them all into the bathroom, and the thing that I love is that Wade is like she's like smiling and laughing like they got like it's a joke. And the thing I forget is that I forget to tell say is that this Quinn has a horrible wig on, like a mullet.
Yes.
And he whatever. So he has glasses. So they come in, they see the wanted posters, and they're like, "Let's go." And as they're going out, the soldiers from Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Okay. Bruh.
They walk in, and they think that they're there for Quinn, but they're there for this guy who mentioned he had been coughing. So it's basically showing how bad things have gotten in this world where like if you have a simple cough, there's a good chance that somebody's gonna call the police on you. And so as they're getting out, Rembrandt is just standing there for some second.
Bruh.
And to me, it's like he's just standing there watching this guy get arrested, and the other people run out of the room. Like, of course, the professor is the first one out because he don't. Yes. The professor don't fuck around. Like he's the first through the portals. He's the first out the door, and Quinn has to come back and says we gotta go. And so Rembrandt runs, and then that's when the lady starts yelling, "I knew it was you!" And so she tells the police that. Quinn there, she thinks that their Quinn or the from their world is there. So they rush away. They get out, and they're just walking around now. But the thing is now Wade is getting sick. And the rules of this universe of how this disease spreads is weird. Yeah. I don't know, like it's weird because they never establish like if it's just airborne, if it's by contact, is it like do you I don't know, like did I miss something or did you?
Well, one thing that was mentioned, and this is getting ahead when they mentioned how Quinn is patient zero, is that he breathed, and I don't know if it was like this grand like you're patient zero, you breathe and we all got the disease, or if it was just like no, you breathed and coughed on that was what I interpreted as, but of course, we live in our world. But also I thought about like a common cold. Like if I'm coughing on you, you're gonna get it. You can touch my hand, but if you kiss my face, you probably really gonna get it. So I just likened it to a cold. And
so that makes sense because I think eventually Rembrandt, well, first the professor and then Rembrandt, they catch it. But see, the other thing is that they are touching Wade where they're trying to take care of her. Either way, like either way, they're in the same motel room. They caught it somehow. But she's the first amongst the group to get it. So they think that at this point it might just be a cold. So Rembrandt takes Wade to a motel so they can get a room for the group with this magical money that they can use across dimensions. I'm surprised they didn't spend an episode just thrown into jail for using counterfeit bills.
Thank you. Oh my God.
So, because even the professor says, Mr. Brown, since you are, you have money, can you go get us a hotel room? And I was like, where did brother get this money at?
Now, I wish they had have done this, but in that money world or oil world, if he had have like
Yeah.
gotten money and just shoved it in his pants. But yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, that's the thing that is one thing that you will have to learn to accept, because they take money from each world and just use it on others. So, and apparently, like, the currency exchange is the same wherever they go. So, anyways, but that's a little nitpick. So, Quinn and the professor go to a pharmacy where they think is a pharmacy, and they walk in, and it's more of like a alternative, like natural.
Mm-hmm.
They make the joke like this is like a place in Berkeley, just as far as and they're not finding aspirin, in the place, but then they cut back to the motel. I don't know if you remember who this guy is. His name is Will
Yes,
Sasso.
Mad
Okay,
TV.
cool.
Yes.
Okay, Matt TV,
Yeah.
awesome. So he, it's funny because he sprays them with disinfectant when they walk in, and Rembrandt is practically holding weight up, and once again, kind of the world building without being over explaining it. Everything he says is, well, the motel worker is that you can't be sick. You can't be sick and come up in here. We keep a clean place. Everything is scrubbed down, and when she starts like falling out, Rembrandt has to make the excuse that she's drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise they won't let them in. So they get the place and come back to the pharmacy. Finally, the professor is able to talk with the pharmacist, who was on the phone, and the professor asks him, he's like, "Do you have aspirin?" And then the guy looks at him like he's crazy. He says, "For who?"
Yeah.
And then the professor says, "It's for a friend of mine." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, let me go to the back." So as this is happening, there's this crazy guy, and I don't know if you kind of wild-eyed looking guy, but I don't know if you watched remember the X-Files. There was a group that worked with Mulder.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 like nerdy guys, and they were conspiracy buffs just like Mulder, but they weren't FBI agents. They were kind of like internet sleuths,
Okay.
nowadays, and they were conspiracy. But he was one of those guys, and I can't remember his name, but
Mm-hmm.
I always say like X-Files was filmed up in Canada. This show was filmed up in Canada. So you have like actors who hopped around from show to show. But basically he works at the pharmacy, and he recognizes Quinn for being his double. And then he's like, "Anarchy, man." He's like, "You're like Charlie Manson. I called the police on you. I need you to take out as many as possible." And we're like, whoa. So the police have gotten there when Quinn and Professor try to get out, and they tranquilize Quinn and take him to I guess the CHC's headquarters. So I don't know, like there's a lot going on. So like, what any thoughts on, I guess, this like complete scene or whatever?
I hated it all. No, I didn't. I didn't hate it all. I just thought it was so. I think I must have just been frustrated when I watched it because I was so mad at everything. I think for me the biggest issue I have with the group as a whole is they do not seem to be perceptive at all. And I'm thinking like we've established that in every world we've been to some degree, one of us has a degree of celebrity or something. Why are we not taking that into account? Like, so even the being in the pharmacy, first of all, Quinn, you have a body double who is clearly evil in this world. Why is your face not covered? Is there not a hood on that yellow jacket? Like, I'm like, be smart. And y'all don't blend in. One of the things I love is the diversity in body type and age and all of that. But that's to your detriment. You don't just look like a group of kids.
Yeah.
I did enjoy this. That the scene in the pharmacy where the guys take down Quinn, to me was a little clunky. I'm giving grace to it because again it's 95, but it felt awkward. Like it was, I don't want to say rushed. There was something about it that didn't really sit well with me, but I know we had to get to this point to get to the next point. So I'm not upset with it. All in all, I just think that the Fab Four, or what you call them? The Core Four. They're not smart, and that pisses me off. That pisses me off because That's the only thing that makes me mad. Otherwise, I did enjoy it though.
Yeah.
I do like the CHC. I like that we're establishing these little companies. I hope that this CHC comes back in another way in a future episode. If not, that's fine. But I did enjoy this. I did.
Yeah. No, it was this scene had better action than what we got later on.
Oof.
Quinn was like hemming people up, and I was like, look at that, the strong nerd like they established in the first episode. But so we get back to the hotel. Wade is hallucinating, like Freddy Krueger dream type of stuff. The professor the professor tells Rembrandt what happened. Rembrandt is like, how are we going to get Quinn? How are we going to make the slide? And then the professor says something which I actually appreciate because, like I said, we keep joking that when the portal pops open, he's like, YOLO, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
He's always the first one through. But in this case, he says, Rembrandt, you might have to be the one to go. You might have to go by yourself because we can't carry this virus to another world.
Thank you.
And which I appreciated him saying, and then just being realistic and saying like you're the only one that ain't affected right now. So so Rembrandt is what like he does most of this episode. He just walks around. Let me not say that. In this scene, he does try to help Wade, but there is a general sense of him, like, I want to say he is like more worried than I think anybody else on the team is, and especially like, but it's this weird thing of them not balancing that out. Like,
I agree.
And there are a couple of things that he says, and this is kind of one of those scenes where that happens. But like I said, he helps Wade, and the big thing that you take away from this is that Wade is she's hallucinating when she sees Rembrandt and the professor. They have like the scarred up faces. They look kind of monster like, and you see her becoming like her skin tone is becoming like she has jaundice, or she's like getting sickly, and she's starting to look more like the guy that she kissed. And she's getting and it's just like this visual representation of the disease rather than just having her like in cold sweats and whatever. So so that's that. Then we cut to the lab where, excuse me, I'm just gonna say it, like Quinn was strapped up in this weird S&M thing, like he's Magneto from X-Men 97.
Yep.
And they have all these like sensors and wires and stuff in there. They're shooting him with like disinfectant. He's like the only thing he has is like boxers or some briefs or some shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's a way to do this without showing him just like strung up like once again like Magneto in that index from 97.
It's freaky.
And so what they're showing is they're trying to decontaminate him. He keeps telling them like, I'm not your Quinn, I'm not from your world. And we cut to like the control center where they're controlling the stuff that's shooting him or taking, they're trying to see if he still has the Q virus. And the lady, her name is Dr. Stanley. And then there's an obsessively asshole-ish guy named Dr. Morton, whose sole purpose in this is to just be the evil person for like no reason. And basically from all these tests that they do, they realize that he is not infected. So that becomes a big revelation. And Dr. Stanley feels that you get the vibe that there's something more to, like, she's like, this can't be right. So from there, they come back to the motel. The biggest thing from here is they show this infomercial, and this is something that they do that we've seen in the other worlds, where they show like television shows, which give some type of background for how things are on the world. So the infomercial is selling like surgical gloves and a sanitizer spray, for $49.95, and that type of BS, whatever. And Remy is losing it. Like Remy is like to the point where I think he says something To the point he said, "We're all gonna die." And
Yeah.
then that's the type of shit that was irritating me. And then the professor's like, "Get a hold of yourself," and that whatever. And Wade is gone now. Wade just ran up out of the room. So like I know this is a bunch of different scenes. Like what were any insider thoughts about
Man,
the lab, going back to the S&M scene?
that I was like, I know for a fact there are a bunch of, I don't know, college age kids who develop some sort of fetish watching this shit. I was like, what the hell going on here? It's S&M. No, I like the scene. I like, what it established. I will say that I think the storytelling, despite my critiques, was done so well, because my frustration about the like mechanics of the show, things that I would change, that notwithstanding, but the actual things that the plot, what they were dealing with, was really stressing me as a viewer. So I think that the storytelling was done very well. That scene in particular, like I figured something was up. There are only two other characters who are speaking in this scene, but for me, having not seen this, a lot of my concern was like, okay, how are they going to pull this off? And then hearing Quinn say, "I'm not the queen of this world," that was something that I was very concerned with the show overall. Because I'm like, there's like saying that, you sound quote unquote crazy. So I don't want that to be a get out of jail free card, because it's just like, oh, I'm not from another world. But like the way they handled it, I thought was done really well. So in this instance, I was like, okay, all you can do is plead for someone to understand you, to listen to you. The evil guy who's just like evil white guy, because that's all he is. I wish we got more motivation for him. Like just one line is like, oh, he was tired of the way the American health system ran and he needed a change. Like I just wanted a little bit more, because I'm like, you're just an evil old man. Like, what's like, it wasn't your son was saying John Q, the hospital failed your son. It's just like, I hate people. I'll give this show a lot of credit for the costuming and makeup department. For with Wade, the yellow skin, and then the added facial features or whatever that was added on to like assist with her hallucination. I thought all of that was done really well. I do think the choreography of the hotel scene was a little odd. And then I know they needed to do it to get Wade to leave, and so they can go find him. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But all in all, like I said, I did enjoy it. But I was just like, y'all are doing stupid stuff. Like, this is not smart. But I'm still in. I'm locked in. But,
well, I mean, it was like Rembrandt literally got up for like a minute, and Wade got up, silently closed that door, and they didn't hear nobody leave. Like he
at
just
all.
at all. It's like that carpet was heavily,
added like
floor was. But so we show Wade. I said that Wade got ghost. We show Wade in Trash Alley, which is adjacent to Crime Alley in Gotham City. And she is, they show her hallucinating more. She's starting to see like demons and creatures and more like, sick people approaching her. And so she's just kind of losing it. And I think it's even to the point where she kind of curls up on the ground. And so Rembrandt and the professor find her, and as they're lifting her up, because they're worried that she's going to make like noise and they got to get her back to the motel. I'm sorry, another Michael Jackson reference. They're surrounded by extras from Thriller, and who just like silently approach them without saying anything, and then it just cuts to commercial, and it's just like, I understand what y'all are going for, but it's, I don't think just because you're sick you become mute. But it was just kind of heightening the tension of the scene. So when they come back, they have been taken to what I call the infected shelters. And basically it seems like it's just like abandoned warehouse where a lot of infected people are being treated, like sort of like an underground treatment, and They're just kind of walking around sick, laid out on beds and being treated by like a few doctors and nuns. And this is when and they're taken by the infected that I guess were drawn to Wade. I don't know. That's never explained to me, but they bring them to that world's Quinn. You know,
Yeah.
the alleged patient zero, and he says that she starts hallucinating when she sees Quinn, and he says to the professor and Rembrandt that she is in a red eye, which is the final stage before she becomes terminal. So,
Mm-hmm.
And she even says something like, "There are things that I should have told you long ago," because she feels like she doesn't have much time left, which is kind of a sad, very sad. But then they they do the obligatory. Professor's like, "Well, I have a story to tell you. You may not believe us." And I'm
Yeah.
kind of at a point now for like if I drank every time they said that in an episode, I would be like falling out of my seat
Yeah.
drunk. But so that's how because Quinn is like, I don't recognize this woman, but she
Mm-hmm.
recognizes me.
Yeah.
And so they come back to the lab with Quinn being examined, and the thing that gets me is why do some people of this world wear hazmat suits while others don't? It's just this thing, like I said, it's like it's kind of the rules of this universe, and I think it's just another scene of them. And correct me if I'm wrong. They're still testing Quinn, but I think this is where actually this isn't where we get the info dump for this world, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just another scene with Quinn at the lab. I don't remember exactly what happens, if it's anything like important.
He just pleading that
Okay.
he's not this world's Queen, and they're like, "You're lying." He's like, "Oh
Okay,
no, but I'm not."
so it's just angry guy being angry guy again. Okay.
And threatening him. That's it. That's
Okay.
quite literally it. Like,
So yeah, so we get back to the shelter. The professor is walking around. He's looking at the conditions that all these people are having to live in, and it's this thing of like, Professor, stop talking shit. Like you like y'all are the most judgmental. You are the most judgmental like asshole
yes.
because you don't know what it's like living in this world, and that's when their world's Quinn is just like you see the doctors that are here. They're risking their lives to come here and treat these people,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where we kind of get the mini info dump where he's saying like, if you have money, you can afford treatment. You can afford to kind of not be to be away from like the sick and the dying. But these people, they essentially come here to die because there's no
Mm-hmm.
hope. People, if they go to these, and I wish they'd actually gotten more into this. I think they call them the protection camps,
Mm-hmm.
which I think are supposed to be their version of, and I hate to, I mean, I don't, concentration camps or like internment camps. I think that's like the vibe that I get every time they mention the protection camps. That's what I mean. I think that's what they're going for.
Wait, I thought like FEMA camps. I thought like,
You know what? That
whoa.
I mean, it might be that thing, but see, the thing with the reason I think that it's more on the side of like if you think about like relief camps, like a FEMA camp,
Mm,
it is so on the outside. That's what I think they are. On the
okay.
outside, that's what they say they are. They say that
Okay.
they are
Okay. Okay.
providing relief, but behind the scenes, when they talk to the Quinn of this world, he
Mm,
is saying like, no, that's not it. They
okay.
are
Okay.
yeah, like they're either testing these people or they're outright just killing them, or they're
Yeah.
not providing with. So I think it's this thing of like on the surface, they're telling people who are in power or who are like the wealthy or like, oh, they're fine and they're in their protection camps.
Mm,
And the real thing is like the protection is for the rich, the
yeah.
rich and the affluent. So, but no, I mean, you're on the right path. I mean, I think as far as like that's what they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
But so he explains that, and this is where I got confused.
Mm,
The doctor Morton or whatever his name is, evil doctor,
Mm-hmm.
gave Q the disease when he was a
Mm-hmm.
medical student that was studying with him
Mm-hmm.
or doing research with him. And I'm like, but why did he create a disease?
There we
That
go.
was that, and that's the thing. I don't know. Did you get an explanation for that?
No, that's what I was saying. He seemed
Okay.
like a one-dimensional villain. I
Yeah.
get that he
Yeah.
poisoned Quinn for during the trial, but I don't
Yeah.
understand why.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like I never understood it. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like that character. Not just
Mm-hmm.
because he gave him a disease. Like I don't like him. I mean, I definitely don't like him because of that. But because they made him like one dimensional. Like, and I know
Yeah.
he only got like 45 minutes to tell the story, but it's just like that guy was just like mad for being mad. But the other thing about the scene that kind of gets me is that Remy is saying, like, he says in America or some shit like that. And I'm just like, brother, come on. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm just gonna say it. When you have some brothers and some sisters in the room, we have the context to
Bruh.
understand our paranoia with this country. Like when it comes, I was like, there were a couple of things. The Tuskegee experiments, um, even how when colonizers came to this country, and were giving out smallpox blankets. I mean, that's the thing. There are two examples that brother, they could have had a scene where I would have had it as the professor saying, the professor should have said that,
Okay,
where he
here
was
we
like,
go.
yeah, where
Yep.
he would have said, he's like, not in America, and then Rembrandt would have been like, it's happened before,
Yeah.
that type of thing. So it's just like little things like that, because he was reading in the scene too naive to be a black man in America.
Who's
It
in
just
his
it just
30s at least. I mean, he's older, but he's at least in his 30s. In
yeah,
95, Rodney King was what was that, 92?
92.
So like
Yep.
give me a break. Yeah. He
Yeah, like you can't, like, you could have just said Tuskegee experiments and we would have gotten, like, this is the same shit. Like, it just, so like I feel that opportunities like that are lost when you don't have the perspective of people who will be like, Rembrandt ain't gonna say that shit.
yeah. But
I would
listen,
have
the type of black man he like this, it's I mean
yeah.
there's an argument to be made because we're not a monolith, but the type
Yeah.
of black man this is everybody has an uncle like this. Come on.
Yeah, it is nothing against the actor.
Oh yeah,
It's this
no.
thing. No, it ain't nothing against the actor, but it's just like some of the material, because there's this thing where I told you, like, throughout the series, we
Mm-hmm.
see less of this. We see less of the stuff that I'm kind of bringing up, or like
Okay.
we're bringing up. But yeah, like that specifically, I would have been like, that would have been a simple thing that any black person would have been like, that Leonardo DiCaprio meme pointing at the screen saying, "We got it, we
Right.
got it." So after that, they come back to the lab. I think this is when Dr. Morton, evil doctor, says, "We'll kill you to get the cure." And it's what, and Dr. Stanley, the lady, is like looking like, okay, maybe this shit ain't right. So I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
you should have known that when Dr. Morton comes to work every day. Like, he looks like he just wants to kill people. So they go back to the shelter. The professor, so I mean, you gotta always say, watch this show, just leave reality at the door.
Yeah.
So the professor is like, I can't remember what a conversation it comes up in, but this world does not have antibiotics. And the Quinn of this world is like, what are you talking about? He says penicillin, and
Mm-hmm.
Quinn is just like, 1+1 = 8, that type of shit. Like, I don't know what you're saying. And the professor he decides at that moment he has to try to create penicillin. So the professor goes and gets like trash, and that's what it is. So he goes, I think they had the conversation in an earlier scene about the antibiotics and no penicillin in this world. He goes and gets the trash, and finds mold, and explains to Rembrandt, who was just like, somebody get this man some food, because they think he obviously thinks this grown ass man is about to eat trash. That it's just weird shit like that. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
even if you don't know science, you know, like this man is not trying to eat trash. He is trying to do something. But he explains to him that I'm going to use the mold from this to create, and I'm just sorry, I'm not a scientist, but basically, you know, but all I know is that penicillin in our world
Mm-hmm.
it has its origins in mold, you know, being
Mm-hmm.
discovered. So that's what the professor is going to do, or trying to do, to create an antibiotic, or penicillin. So, anyways, but Remy is being very dense, and the professor once again reiterates, like, we can't take this plague to another world, and I think, and then also he tells Rembrandt that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to go and find Arquin.
Yeah.
And the next scene is like Rembrandt going to talk to Wade before he leaves, or just to check in, and he sees the infected Quinn there, and you know, he's talking with Wade, or at least trying to check in on her, and Quinn says that he comes over. That's what it was. He comes over and tells Rembrandt, "We know where your Quinn is being held. You know, I don't even know if he says we'll get you there, but
No,
he
he
doesn't. But
doesn't.
but he gives him an earring, and this is a sign of the times. I'm sorry. He gives him this earring to give to Dr. Stanley, because this Quinn knows Dr. Stanley, and Dr. Stanley has established that she knows a Quinn,
Yeah.
and he gives him this earring that he's wearing, and then when he gives it to Rembrandt says, "Thanks anyway. I'm a straight arrow," and yeah.
I didn't catch that at first, so I thought Quinn offered him drugs, and I was like, "Oh, you mean you don't do drugs?" And I was like, "What are we doing, 1995?"
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
You know, one of the things, it doesn't, there are some other things from this time that you'll watch where it's like very egregious. You know, it's like
Mm,
stuff that we grew up watching as kids, like we didn't get it, you
yeah.
know. And as an adult, like, so when I hit, I was like, brother, just take the fucking earring and just go. I
There's a
mean, it's just,
reason he. Oh,
yeah, like, and even if he was gay, like, it's like he whatever. So anyway, so it's like, and it goes to the writing, and it's just, and it's I don't know, it's just, it's weird. So
mm-hmm.
um Remy says, and that's the other thing, he says, why do I have to go? And and I think that's when the infected Quinn tells him like something like, because you're the only one, like, how many times are we gonna have to tell you that it just is what it is?
Like,
So we cut back to the lab for the, I mean, any thoughts about this before we get into
it's
this
all
ridiculousness?
dumb. It's all dumb. Rembrandt pissed me off this whole fucking episode.
Yeah.
The whole episode. How loud he was talking when Arturo pulled that trash down. Him complain. I get the apprehension, but it's like, bro, you know you the only person who not sick.
Yeah.
You know that. But what really made me mad, which again, it's a show in 95, you only have so much time. Nobody explained how he was supposed to get into the CHC. Like, I'm gonna give you this earring, and it's like, but do I act like I'm sick? Like, what do I take into account? This is a black man and who's like, I'll give him 38 at the youngest,
Yeah.
with this stylized hair. You're dressed in a way that nobody else is, and you're just gonna walk up to the CHC and ask for this white woman who is a scientist. That is weird. So that's my
Yeah.
biggest issue with them sending him. Is like,
Yeah.
also, is the nurse, I'm sorry, is the nun and the doctor both just automatically immune? That nurse
Right.
didn't have a mask on. She
No.
was like, is that the nurse
It's
from, what is it, The Omen? Like, what is going? I don't know.
no, that's the one from the Conjuring universe.
Gotta be. Gotta
No, I
be.
mean, that's a good point. Like, they didn't give this brother like any, like, hey, here's a gun. You might have to shoot your way out.
I
But it
mean,
goes back to this thing of my irritation comes with not taking that into account. But the other thing that you got to think about is like, because this stuff was so compressed for time, I'm
Yes.
like, is this the type of, is this, should you have put a rescue into this story? Right? Did you necessarily need a rescue? Because I think that there's a way that you can, there are many ways that you could have separated them.
Yep.
And he didn't have to go like barreling, wasn't guns a blazing on him because he didn't have no guns. So that's like I think it comes back to like the shortcomings of some of the writing in this episode.
Yeah.
Like I said, it ain't a reflection of this brother, but it's
Right.
a reflection of the material
Yeah.
that you're getting on a few fronts. Because if you want to talk about when things get wackadocious and just like you could tell that they were trying to wrap this shit up like on that Dave Chappelle skit, like
Yeah.
wrap it up, it was the next scene. So the doctor, they come back to the lab. Dr. Stanley comes into the room with two hazmat suits because she wants to sneak our Quinn out because she still thinks that this is her Quinn, because we find that out with something that she says later on. So the thing that, no, what were you about to say? Because I'm wondering if you.
I wanted to punch everybody in this scene. She gave him that suit. She was like, be careful, this room is being monitored. But you're giving him a hazmat suit in this room that's being monitored. You're not like, oh, I gotta take you for testing.
Yeah.
He's like, here, take this suit. And then he says, what are you doing? Oh, it's being monitored. He's not louder than you bringing in two suits, lady. And why aren't you already in a suit so nobody will know who you are when you come in here? She pissed me off. Oh, she pissed me off, bro.
Well, that was the thing, because like it's like, okay, you're rushing because you got to finish this episode, right? So let's just like work the writing around that. She comes in, if she could come in and say, like,
yes,
like
be quiet,
they can hear, maybe they can't see right now, maybe she's turned the cameras off, but they continue to have a conversation after she says that specifically. So and he's like, thank you, Russell.
Yep.
Just like, and he's like having a full-blown conversation. So that's what I put in my notes for this part, because she specifically said, be quiet, the room is being observed to record, whatever. So so they get out.
I hate her.
And all of a sudden, I just say the worst escape. Minutes later, her and Quinn are running down like the longest set of steps in life in these suits. Rembrandt rolls up in a taxi in the most like obvious getaway car, period. Because like he ain't got no choice, right? But guess who the cabbie is? It's the same actor from the pilot episode. So even though I do like the idea of them reusing actors to like establish, it gets kind of like the only taxi driver that you could find was the same one. But anyway, so he pulls up and then he gets out of the car and there are gunshots. He was like, what's going on? And so her and Rembrandt and her and the doctor and Quinn are still going down these steps. and then they, like I said, the soldiers from Moonwalker they say stop running, and then they just start shooting, and the lady gets shot. She rolls down like five flights of steps.
I hate this.
This is the second case of a woman getting killed between these episodes in the worst way possible. You see her roll down the steps, hits the bottom step. Quinn drags her to this like area, and like it's like 25, 100 soldiers just running slowly. And because Quinn got a whole fucking moment to behold her in his arms, and that's where I think, I don't know if I had realized before that I thought that she thought that Quinn was from an alternate world, but what she says, and it makes it even worse, is I'm sorry, I couldn't help you. She says something like, whatever, but she says something where Quinn assures her that he's okay and he forgives her. And then he pulls her hand away and she has blood on her back. And then she just goes like this. and dies. And the whole time, what makes it even crazier is Remy is like, "Get your ass over here!"
He is. He said, "Leave her."
He said, "Leave her."
Oh my god, I hate Quinn. I hate him.
Second, what were your thoughts about this? And then
But
they
I
get into
hate
the
Quinn. No
like,
woman is safe around Quinn. I
yes.
am sure Wade is going to die. It may not be episode 4. It may not be episode 5. It may not be season 2. But Wade is going to die. Fucking with him. Quinn is the villain of this show. I don't. It took them so long, and what pissed me off is that woman,
Mm-hmm.
even as dead weight, can't be no more than like 130 pounds. You
Just leave
couldn't
her there.
pick her up and
Just,
drag her into the taxi with you.
yeah.
You already spent an hour underneath this bridge while everybody was running down the stairs. You couldn't have dragged her and just like threw her body in a trunk or something. Like, come
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah.
You
I mean, she definitely, for the 5 minutes that we got to know her and Dr. Evil, she just definitely deserved better. And
yes.
it seemed like they forced this like character relation. This not character relationship. This relationship between her and Quinn, and just like 2 minute scene under the bridge. And it was just weird. And the whole time, what I'm thinking the whole time is like the taxi driver must be scared out of his fucking mind, because he's like, what is going on? So Quinn jumps into the car. They shooting at the car and taxi, and they just go. So they get back to
So sad.
the place with the infected shelter. Professor is doing Breaking Bad on penicillin.
Yes. Yeah.
Jesse walks up. He says, "Yo, you got this shit ready? Let's go." And that I don't know, whatever. So he's making penicillin. He's cooking penicillin. Um, he Quinn is talking to Wade is talking to. I think she's talking to Quinn, and it's actually the infected Quinn just there. She's hallucinating, and that's when the infected Quinn and Prime Quinn keep getting women killed. Quinn, they see each other for the first time, and I'm going to tell you something, Wayne. I did not notice that until I started doing this season. Like, that is
He's
a
evil.
weird thing that happens. But they see each other, the doubles meeting for the first time, and it'll be something. Get used to it. It happens. And Wade is still going through it. And then I think, this is still after. So the infected Quinn asks if what happened with Dr. Stanley. And I think like Rembrandt says something like, she didn't make it, man. Sorry. And then hands him back the earring. And I was just like, I feel sad for
God, yes.
for the infected Quinn and Dr. Stanley. And so then we cut back to Professor. And I thought maybe this happened before, but anyways, the professor finishes making the penicillin cocktail, and then just as he's about to drink, the infected Quinn, and I gotta respect him for this. He said, wait, wait. There are people here who are more sick than you. And I like that. But the professor said, we have 3 ways this can go. This doesn't work, I get cured, or I die.
Yeah.
So he was like, let me be the guinea pig, for this. So he takes a drink and then he goes to sleep. And then we cut back to the lab. Because this will be like leading to the wrap up. So any thoughts between the horrible shootout and the reunion of the Fab Four?
This is dumb. Rembrandt, especially, you just went on a fucking gospel tour last episode when somebody died, singing your heart out, but now it's like, man, she dead, bro. You were yelling for her execution, and you were like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I like it. I feel like there was just too much going on in this particular episode that this could have been better if they cut it down a bit or took something out. what I don't like about this show, and I know we're going to get more, is Quinn and Wade's budding romance.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, she fails the Bechdel test. Well, the show does every episode. Every
Mm-hmm.
episode, it has failed. There is not two women that talk to each other at all. There's not
Mm-hmm.
one woman that speaks, and it's not about Quinn. So that's terrible. But then also, with the penicillin and the drug mixture, I did enjoy that scene as well. I do like that Quinn of this world is very concerned about his people, but I also like that the professor's like, look, man, anything can happen. Like, I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice. I think this is the episode. I did already like him, but this is probably the episode that makes me a fan of the professor because of
Yeah.
everything he's
Yeah.
done and like stood for in this episode. And he always first to that gate, he always the one with his own hefty body. I love that. That man said, "Fuck all that."
So
And
let's
he's
go.
older. Yeah, like so. I'm all in all, I enjoyed it. I did not like a lot of Rembrandt in here, but
Yeah.
otherwise, these were some scenes that made sense in the context of the show, but
Gotcha.
on their own.
Yeah. So we cut back to the lab, and Dr. Evil is talking to the cab driver, and he says, "You better tell me where the fuck they went." And he was like,
Yes,
"Okay," and he,
yes.
"Oh, I'm gonna give you the cue," and that's what he says. He says, "I'm gonna infect you." Like, the hell?
Fuck him, bro.
So he tells them where they are. Moonwalker soldiers and him ride out. We cut back to the infected shelter. And Remy is talking to the infected Quinn, and Remy, and we get a little bit more backstory, emphasis on a little, between infected Quinn and Dr. Stanley. And he was like, "Yeah, we were lovers when we were in college. We would have been lovers we hadn't, if I hadn't gotten sick." And then Remy's like, "Well, I'm sick." And it's so sick. So Remy is sick. So like, things are even more serious. The CHC finds Trash Wall Alley, and then they bust through that. They just bust right through the trash wall. The professor wakes up, no fever, he's well. Suspension of disbelief, penicillin. Hey, he created an entire damn thing, right?
Yeah,
So of all the foolish, the craziness that happens, I guess I'm kind of okay with that. But like, once again, you got to go into the show realizing that some stuff is just not realistic.
at all.
In addition to the concept, so fever's broken. Remy's like, "Bring me a bottle," and he runs away to get a bottle. He's like, "Fuck these slick people." Runs away to get it, and so they basically, and it's funny, like some of the writing with some of the humor, it works, like, because like even the professor, like when the Prime Quinn walks over to him, is helping him up. He's like, he throws shade at biology. He says biology is what you do if you don't have the mass for real science. And I'm just like, God.
Yeah,
And so I like that because it's just him being like himself, like an
yeah,
asshole at times. So they have a scene where they have established that, and I don't know if it's like, if there's a certain time, like whatever. So they've passed around this recipe, and they're starting to kind of distribute it to people in the at the center. But then they also, and this comes later, the infected Quinn says that they have spread it around to other infected. Well, no, what were you about to say with that?
no, that they've sent it to other camps or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
how? How
Well,
did
no, I
I do that?
mean, so I think that they, with every version of the internet they had, or like telephones, they just started kind of spreading it around.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's how the changes started. Because what happens is the invasion, the guards come in, Doctor Evil comes in, they are just like fucking people up. They're like really fucking up sick people. Like they are
Like,
just beating them with guns. I think I see one guy pick up a child and like
yes,
toss it
that is
aside.
the first scene where he pulled that
Yeah.
little girl or boy, I don't know, they just got long hair off the couch. It's like,
Yes.
bro, this person is like 9 years old. Come
Right.
on.
And it's just like excessive. They just like beat the fuck out of people, and people, I do like that some of the people are trying to like whoop ass, but then they just keep getting thrown off. and it's basically them trying to get to the sliders. The sliders are like, here's the recipe for penicillin, yay.
Mm-hmm.
They run up a flight of steps to Quinn. Infected Quinn now, to their in their defense, Infected Quinn does tell them, go up these steps. And it's just like, it's just helping them out.
Right.
So the Dr. Evil gets there and basically says, I'll shoot you and take the the cure from your body. And then a swarm of people get in front of the Infected Quinn. Just to describe it for people who aren't seeing it, who haven't watched this yet, they're on the first floor.
Yep.
And above them is this like, I have no idea why this thing is up there. It's basically like a landing with
Like a
no
log.
railing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's no railing. But that's where the sliders go.
That pissed me off, bro. That pissed me off.
And it's just like, it's another case of dramatic effect. So when they slide, they can hop out like over something. So they the evil, even not Evil Quinn, Infected Quinn tells Dr. Evil, when the people crowd around him to be like his shield, that's when he says, we've already distributed the formula to other places. You won't be able to just have the cure for the rich. And I'm like, it's a lot of social commentary packed into just one. It's like a 2-minute scene. And so then the portal opens up. The professor says deuces, and he jumps through first. I think Rembrandt, then Wade. I think somebody carries Wade through.
Quinn does. Yep.
And then like Prime Quinn tells the other Quinn, give him hell. And then he jumps through, and then that's basically it. So the next scene that we see is them. I'm not gonna. They jump to another world. I'm not gonna give this one a creative one because I don't know if this like world is offensive or not. It's kind of like I don't know. It is what it is. But they jump to a world where they're in a tent. Wade wakes up. She's well, and Quinn tells her that he feels happy because they made some positive change on the world with leaving penicillin there. And I get that because like they have gone to like 4 or 5 worlds where things are just effed up, whatever, and he's just gotten people killed. So, and then he's like, go back to sleep. And the weird thing is you hear this like drumming music in the background, and then it stops, and then Rembrandt and the presser come in. They are actually wearing, like, it looks like they're sweating and it's hot. They're wearing like bandanas or shirts over their head because they're sweating. And then they said, did you tell her? And then he says no, and basically it comes out that they jump to a world full of cannibals. Like I said, yep. What are your thoughts?
That in particular threw me. Two things. One, it threw me because we're always in San Francisco. So what part of San Francisco is this? But also because there seems to be some sort of time jump, at least with storytelling, that I'm thinking, okay, where did they end up? But if the implication is we're in Africa or some ethnic place, where are you in relation to San Francisco, San Diego, whatever? And how did we get here? What? Because I was thinking about, I was like, okay, are we on an island? Are we like what? The way it's set up, it gives me island, it gives me somewhere warmer in climate. It does not give we're in Iowa in the summer. So like, where the fuck are we? And what is happening here? And so that's what I'm like, that's why I said before, I need to see how do you move to episode 4? Are we going to exist in this space? Which because they didn't show anything, I can't imagine that we're going to even spend any more time here at all. I don't know. By reading your face, we might. I don't know.
So right now they're still always going to be in San Francisco. That's the thing. So this is maybe a San Francisco that is more tropical. I don't know how that works or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing that kind of got me about it is that this country was occupied by indigenous people before. So the suggestion is, without giving, yep, and that's the thing. So there's a chance that you were probably suggesting that the indigenous people that are still here, if that's what you're going for, are cannibals, or I would have been like established that it was Europeans who came over here and they're cannibals. So it's this thing of like once again, you got to have us in a room. You got to have you in the writers' room, because we would have been like, okay, like shit. Then if y'all want to go the cannibal route, say it was like the family from Texas Chainsaw Massacre or some Amityville horror type of shit, or like where the hills have eyes, that type of thing, where we get away from like the possible stereotype of black and brown, whatever. So anyway, so that was always a weird ending. And I know they had the comedy, they had the comedic moment or whatever.
It makes no sense to me. What is going on? This is terrifying.
It was like this kind of wacky moment that they were trying to build. So that's how the episode ends. And they are now on I just say World Episode 3. But I don't know. I just didn't want to call it like Cannibal World or nothing like that. That would just be like, it just is weird.
Bro, Robert said, you're not going to get me. This is Episode 3 World.
It's
no,
Episode 3 World. No. That's my official designation for this last place. But
this
we've kind of talked through general thoughts about it.
This was still dumb. I hated it. I hated it from the start, because why are we not cautious about using money when money is the reason we got into the shit in the last episode? Money is the exact, like, I'm like, can you tell somebody, hey, can I have $1 so you can see what the money looks like? Because I'm not spending money nowhere. I'm stealing. I don't care. I'm robbing.
We stayed in the park. We are sleeping in the park for like 2 or 3 days.
Bro, I'm saying.
One thing I will say with that, so like, I'll hop in with that. They do establish that when they get to certain worlds, they pick up odd jobs.
Oh, I like that
way. So like, but it doesn't happen often enough to be like, okay, let's just do this. And I know story wise, you don't want to always have them like just getting jobs, but they got to get money somehow. And if I'm the cashier looking at Ben Franklin, or if you go to a world where Frederick Douglass became president back in the 1860s, no, it's just what I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to cut you off. So what else were you saying, like general thoughts about this episode?
It pissed me off. I was pissed that Wade was in the bathroom telling jokes. Oh, women always, you always see women looking at you. Ma'am, we are in another universe. This is the fifth time we've done this. This is not time for those types of jokes. Since my mugshot, and also, why was the mugshot wanted poster only in the men's bathroom? It wasn't anywhere else. I mean, well, eventually it was. We saw it on the wall outside. But I'm like, why is this in here? Why is it not on the wall inside the clinical restaurant? There was a lot. Again, 95. Give it grace to an extent, but like I was like, this is not good. Let me see. When people recognize one of the core four, why is it like, oh, I've never been here? Like, you have to know by now there is a version of you in every world. Like, let's kind of be for real here. Let's use a disguise. Like, I want to see them come up with a plan. Like, hey, we're going to another world. Let's have a code word. Let's keep our head down. Like, they're just like, fuck it, it's time to go. And then they're not doing enough for me to try to figure out if this is their world or not. Because my question now is, once they actually get to their world, we've been hopping around forever. I'm going to assume time is the same everywhere. I think that was established. So if it takes us a year to get back, how do we know? Like, for example, let's say COVID happened in the real world in 96. And this whole time y'all been gone. Now you get back, you're like, oh, this is not our world. Actually, you're not doing anything. Like, his mom should show up in every episode. Like, why are you not looking for your mama? They've been pissing me off, bro. They've been pissing me off. I don't know. Quinn, stay away from women. This is a horror show. This is what I put. This show is horror because yes, they got the comedy and they do all it, but it is
Mhm.
you jump through a portal and you don't know where you're gonna land. You could land
Yep.
on shards of glass. You could
Mhm.
land on blood and animal carcass. You don't know where you're going to land. Also, any disease you get in this world can go to the next, and if you sent through without a cure, you dead. Like it's this show is terrifying. This is this is a horror show that they just happened to make into this could be rebooted in
Yeah.
2024, 2025
Yeah.
as a horror
Yeah.
adventure show because this is not.
It would I liken this to like if you did a reboot, it would be like Bel Air.
Yeah,
Strangely
yeah,
enough, because like Bel Air back in the day was for the most part, it was a comedy, right?
yeah.
You know, definitely it wasn't a sci-fi show, but it was more like, you know, easy going and tone
Mm-hmm.
until you had episodes where people were getting shot, and then trying to find revenge or some shit.
Bruh.
And then or then like the episode with Will and his dad. So
Yeah,
you had like little moments like that. But like I think because there was a certain sense of this is campy. This
yeah,
is campy. I
it
mean,
is.
it's like representative of how sci-fi, a lot of sci-fi was done. And I'm not going to say all sci-fi because you look at something like X-Files, even though that shit got goofy in certain respects. Early on, it was always serious, right?
Yeah.
And there was no connecting threads between each of the episodes because they weren't doing that back in the day. Like
Mm-hmm.
the first time I saw something done serialized back in the 90s was Deep Space Nine.
Mm.
And that compared to like the episodic nature of like Star Trek, the original one, and Star Trek Next Generation, that was just blowing people's minds. Like you
Yeah.
literally had to watch to see character growth. You got to see that. You got to see like plot threads, that something happened this episode is going to have an effect on this episode. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. It's going to be in this show. Nope. It's just like we slide without backpacks, so we just we don't know like where they're getting these clothes from, right? So that type,
Mm-hmm.
those little things, in addition to like the story threads, that's definitely something that unfortunately we don't get that with this. But if they did a reboot,
Mm-hmm.
that would hit so well,
Yeah,
like
I agree.
because I think the concept is strong enough that you would be able to have fun with it, but also be able to kind of grow that narrative where everything does connect. And so, anyways, but any like general any more thoughts or any?
Man, all in all, honestly, this was a pretty good episode. It was, I think, ambitious. I do not like, and this, I don't know if this will be a theme.
Mhm,
I understand they went upstairs probably to like be either further away from the villains.
mhm,
Um, to open the portal about a foot away from the ledge
mhm.
was a choice when they're like you could have just pointed at a wall. Like I feel
Yeah,
like you know what
yeah,
I'm saying. So you have Professor, who's a big dude. I ain't saying he not strong. I ain't saying he not athletic. But like,
mhm.
what if one of y'all fail between that
Just
foot?
that
You know what I'm
gap.
saying? Like you got to go through that door, run back upstairs, hope to get like.
Yeah,
I was like, this seems.
yeah,
These people don't seem smart. I'm putting it at the ground because at this point, I'm carrying this girl. Let's just. It's just some
it
of
doesn't
that.
make any sense.
When all
Yeah,
the sick people joined around Quinn, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to keep the cure for myself." They could have shot him in the head. Quinn is like 6'2". Everybody else was like 5'4". Like
yeah,
there was a clear shot at your head. I'm like, maybe I'm just too dark, but like
yeah.
if I'm Dr. Evil, I'm shooting you. What do you mean? All y'all could get. Why would I not shoot them when I just picked up a 9-year-old child and
It
flung
just
them off of
tossed
a
it to the
couch?
side.
Why would I care about any of y'all? You are
Yeah,
disposable beings to me. I'm killing everybody. I was like, this is, I get it.
yeah,
95, you're trying to get done with the episode, but like, there should have been well, not should have been. There could have been a bloodbath while
yeah.
them fools was jumping through that. And I would have shot at the portal. You know, I don't, you all gotta die. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that was it.
yeah. I think general thoughts they're still about the same as before. It's kind of like a mid-level filler.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to say filler. Maybe filler isn't the right word because this is
Mm-hmm.
just like the third episode. But it just I don't know. Like this is like a weird one to be like the third episode after your kind of big
Mm-hmm.
stakes first two-parter, or however long
Yeah.
both episodes would have been together. There's the example that I always make is Battlestar Galactica, the reboot,
Mm-hmm.
started off with this really awesome first episode, or like mini TV movie, and the
Mm-hmm.
episode that they followed that up with is one of the greatest episodes of that series, just period.
Mm-hmm.
So they followed up something great with something else that was just as solid.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, they followed up something that was really good with something that was like, okay, well, we wrote it. Let's film it. So it was just okay. It was just okay, and there was goofy stuff. I'm used to that with sliders, but I like the goofy stuff kind of still in a really solid episode.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that like I said, that I can accept. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I guess on a scale of like hallucinated monsters that Wade was seeing, what would you rate this episode out of 10? 10 hallucinated monsters.
It's low. This one got to be low for me.
Hmm.
Considering everything, and I think if this does become a running thing, I may start letting their effects in the world influence my decision. Because even though I rated low, I think them developing penicillin, and so that we know this world is essentially going to be okay to some degree,
Hmm.
that will boost up my rating a little bit more. However, Quinn getting that woman killed
Hmm.
drops it back down lower. So it kind of cancels out the penicillin to me. I'll give it. I have to give it like a 6. Um, I do think it's good. I think it was just a lot going on, and it probably should have gotten another 1 or 2 passes between Rembrandt, Quinn getting that woman killed, and even though the professor I liked him because of the things he did in this episode. Him yelling about that doctor did not sit well with me at
Yeah.
all. What is
Yeah.
his qualification? What do you mean?
Like, you just
What
got here. You just got
like what are we
here.
talking about? And also, I wasn't looking at the screen when he said it and I had to run it back. That doctor was like dressed like a doctor. He wasn't yellow skinned. He wasn't. I was like, he looks like you. What do you? So yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta give it a 6. I'm gonna give it a 6. A
Okay.
solid 6 across yeah.
That's
Mm,
yeah, he was good for that. The thing that one of the things that actually, I'm sorry, I mentioned, one
mhm.
of the things I mentioned at the beginning
Yeah.
is that something that there are certain things that you're gonna see a certain trend with in this series,
Mhm.
and either accept it or not, or just vibe with it or not, is that the every other episode as far as the worlds they go to, they they are the catalyst for a world
Okay.
changing, a world like like huge world change, like a huge, like
Mhm.
defining change for that world.
Okay.
And I don't know necessarily if we needed as many of those types of episodes as we get. And I'm not saying like it's because I can't remember off the top of my head without like going through these again, but
Yeah.
there's always an instance of them leaving the world changed in a huge way in many of these episodes. And I'm like, that is just that is something that just happens on a regular basis. And I think this is an example of that. And even going back to the communist world,
Mhm. Yeah.
he now I don't know if that changed for. I will say the penicillin thing is bigger than them saying like, well, we're going to take back the Western Front.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like you're going to take back America. So
Mhm.
but the suggestion is that they are the catalyst for change in a huge way with some of these worlds that they go to. And you gotta so that was the thing I meant to
Okay.
say. But as far as a rating for this episode, I'm at a 6. I'm actually that's kind of perfect.
Mhm.
Because it definitely could have been better. I think there was some stuff that they could have kind of done without. Characters were acting kind of weird for in certain cases. I think Rembrandt is probably like the biggest example of that.
Mhm.
Um, and I just just felt it was just kind of middle of the road. I actually like the world. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that the big thing with this world is that it's something that we can relate to in a
Yeah.
way, with having lived through
Yep.
the pandemic. So I do think that the ideas that the show had were kind of prophetic or pathetic, or however you want to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were also tapping into, it's the idea of like an outbreak,
Yeah.
a virus, a pandemic, so so it's definitely, I'll give them that as far as the story, but like overall it's just a 6.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But what I will say, because I know we're kind of getting tight for time, next week I do want us to start doing the favorite and least favorite characters.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then favorite and least favorite moments, and we can add those in. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean that's it for this. I feel that that's all to be said for this episode. So
Honestly, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, y'all check it out if you haven't. If this conversation has sparked any interest in sliders, which I hope it has, check it out. I'm watching on Peacock. This is not a sponsored anything. It's just the only way I can find to watch it.
Yeah.
Let these folks know where they can support you and follow you and get some more Robert insight.
Website is Robert K. Jeffrey, Robert K. JEFFREY.com. And best place on like the social medias or whatever is Instagram, Robert K. Jeffrey. Robert K. Jeffrey. And how about you, Ryan?
Oh man, you can find me punching something in Texas. No, maybe on Twitter and TikTok, CarefreeBlackNerd, IG and YouTube, CarefreeBlackNerd. The visuals, of course, if you're here watching, check out all the other stuff on here. And podcast, if you're listening, hell, check out the stuff on there too. Shit. And use that hashtag STTMpod and let us know what your thoughts are. You hate it, you love it, you agree with us, you don't agree. What was your rating? And what worlds do you want to see in sliders canon? I don't know. But yeah, shit, that's all I got. Outside of quit spending fucking money as soon as you get to a new fucking world.
I need a hamburger. No,
steal, just steal. This the one instance that you could just steal.
just
God, you're not gonna be there long. Just rob and hide.
Part.
So yeah, that's it, y'all. Thank you all for listening and watching us, and we'll be back next time with episode 4. And so for those of you watching along, episode 4 is coming up. This is one that we can watch in order, right? I don't have to.
Let's get back to the people about that.
So edit. Don't worry. Bye, everybody.